Emma Carter arrived in the city with nothing but a single battered suitcase and a heart brimming with fragile dreams. The hills of Maplewood had been gentle and slow, a place where time drifted like the smoke from her grandfather's fishing fire. Under the pecan trees, she'd lost herself in dog-eared romance novels, believing, naively or not, that kindness was a currency the world honored. But the city was different. It was a maze of steel and shadows where dreams whispered and then disappeared into cold pavement cracks. She found the Whitmore estate by accident, a hidden cathedral of marble and opulence nestled like a secret behind wrought iron gates. The mansion loomed over her like a titan, regal and unyielding. Inside, light refracted from crystal chandeliers, painting the halls with fractured rainbows. Oil portraits hung heavy with expectation, the kind of silence that doesn't soothe but suffocates. Her room was small, cramped, shared with 3 others, and the thin walls did little to block the echoes of footsteps and whispered complaints. She cleaned 12 rooms daily, scrubbing away dust and loneliness alike, hands raw but heart steady. The other staff's warning voices buzzed in her ears. He's cold, keeps his distance, don't get involved. But Emma's heart, stubborn as a wild horse, believed in seeing beyond the surface. Then came Nathaniel Whitmore. He descended the grand staircase like a ghost of a man, perfectly tailored suit, eyes veiled in sorrow and steel. His presence filled the room with an unsettling stillness. Emma sensed a fracture beneath the polish, a break where light filtered in, not weakness but a delicate vulnerability. He was heir to the empire but prisoner of grief, haunted by a sister lost to tragedy. She noticed his rituals, the clockwork arrival at 8:03 p.m., the untouched piano gathering dust, the photograph he studied with dry eyes but trembling hands. At first he ignored her, a wall of frost. But slowly, small gestures cracked the ice. A nod, a quiet thank you, acceptance of her chamomile tea, her subtle act of care. Their silent dance began, a fragile thread woven between their worlds. Emma moved through the estate like a quiet breeze, unseen yet persistent. She straightened his jacket with careful fingers, leaving it draped on the armchair rather than tucked away, a silent rebellion against his rigid control. Nathaniel's eyes lingered on her longer than propriety allowed. A glance in a hallway, a stare across a dinner table laden with silence. Their fingers never met, but their gazes spoke volumes in the language of restraint. She hummed softly as she worked, a melody that seemed to soften the cold walls. Nathaniel was a ghost of himself, a man trapped in a cage of loss and expectation, but slowly, painfully, he began to reclaim pieces of life. He asked her about her days, not out of obligation, but curiosity that chipped away at his armor. She shared tales of fireflies flickering on warm summer nights, fishing trips with her grandfather, and dreams spun from stardust. His smile appeared once, fleeting and fragile, but enough to light a spark in the dark. One night, he asked her to play the piano. Hesitant, rusty fingers stumbled over the keys, but the music flowed like a whispered prayer, sacred and raw. Nathaniel sat in shadow, eyes closed, drinking in the sound. When the last note faded, he whispered, "Thank you." That night, sleep eluded them both, as silence deepened into something that felt dangerously like hope. Love in silence, quiet, delicate, yet fiercely alive, wove around them like an invisible thread, binding their souls without a word spoken. Everything broke on a Sunday bathed in cold light when Eleanor Whitmore arrived unannounced. The matriarch's presence was like a storm, sharp, unforgiving, carved from tradition and ice. She walked into the house with eyes that missed nothing, instantly sensing the subtle shift. Her son's softened gaze, Emma's flushed cheeks, the fragile thread connecting them. Her words were knives. "You were hired to clean, not to seduce," she spat with venom laced in cold steel. Emma stood tall, proud despite tears slipping down her cheeks, tears that betrayed the strength she fought to hold. Nathaniel tried to shield her to speak, but his voice cracked, silenced by the weight of years spent under his mother's iron rule. "I'm sorry," he whispered to Emma later that night, his apology breaking like glass. Without a word, she packed her few belongings and slipped away into the city's indifferent night. Nathaniel watched from the library window, fists clenched, heart torn apart in silence. The estate grew colder, the piano's silence stretching like a wound. Chamomile tea was replaced by bitterness. The scent of hope faded into dust. Nathaniel buried himself in work, deals, promotions, building walls to hide the ache she left behind. He hired investigators, desperate to find the ghost of the woman who had touched his soul. Emma vanished like smoke, retreating into books and the comfort of words. She wrote feverishly, studied, and carved a new life from pain and determination. Stronger, wiser, but carrying a secret beneath her heart, a light Nathaniel had yet to see, a truth waiting to heal the broken pieces of them both. Years later, the city's pulse was electric as Emma stood at a sleek book launch in Midtown, transformed. No longer the girl serving tea, she radiated confidence, her navy dress clinging to the woman she'd become. Heels clicking softly, a quiet authority that silenced rooms. She was now head of marketing for a best-selling author, a woman forged by fire and grace. Nathaniel arrived under obligation, representing Whitmore Capital's investment. He was ready to slip away early as he always did, when his eyes caught hers across the crowded room. At first, he thought it a trick of the light. She looked like a ghost. But ghosts don't command attention, lead conversations, or smile with the quiet power of someone who has conquered storms. Their eyes locked, time hiccuped, and the noise around them faded. Pulled by a thread spun years ago in silence, Nathaniel took step after tentative step toward her. "Emma!" he breathed, the first full breath he'd drawn in years. She turned slowly, eyes calm. "Nathaniel!" A sacred pause stretched between them, filled with all the words left unsaid, all the years they'd carried alone. "You look different, stronger." They spoke not of past wounds or blame but of books, forgotten summers, and a quiet ache neither could shake. His apology was simple, sincere, and her forgiveness was a gift born from healing, not weakness. Laughter bloomed, first hesitant, then free, reclaiming a connection thought lost. When the moment ripened, Emma revealed the secret she'd guarded, their son Elijah. Nathaniel held the photograph tenderly, Elijah crowned in paper, chocolate frosting smeared across his nose, those unmistakable Whitmore eyes gleaming with innocent wonder. The image crashed over him like a tidal wave, drowning him in a storm of joy, guilt, and longing. "Why didn't you tell me?" His voice cracked, raw and trembling. "You weren't ready," Emma said softly. He hadn't been, not then. But now, something inside him broke open, a dam held by fear and pride shattering, letting emotion flood free. Their first meeting was a fragile dance of hope and uncertainty. Elijah peeked shyly from behind Emma, curious but brave. "Are you the man from Mommy's stories?" Nathaniel knelt, heart pounding like a schoolboy's first confession. "I think so." Elijah hugged him without hesitation, a bridge built in an instant. Slowly they forged a family. Weekend visits, messy science projects, rainy day movies. Nathaniel devoured parenting books but learned most from Elijah's laughter, the purest music of all. Emma watched from afar, protective, then hopeful, daring to believe in second chances. Eleanor raged behind the scenes, but Nathaniel stood firm, finally listening to the right voice. His own. 2 years later, beneath a sky gilded with gold and wildflowers bowing like old friends, they married barefoot in a field. Elijah carried the rings in a wooden box he made at school. Nathaniel cried through every moment. Their first dance was clumsy and perfect, full of laughter, missteps, and the promise of a love born not from perfection, but from the courage to stay. Under string lights and cicada songs, Emma whispered, "I told you I came from stars. You just had to look up." He kissed her hand, breathless. "I'm never looking down again."